not the comfort mode. I am 42 and my wife of 12 years is 44. On set a night during a camping trip, I saw my wife sneak away at 2 a.m. with one of my friends. I tried to find them with no luck, so I called him 10 minutes later. He didn't answer, and they returned a few minutes later. I questioned her on it and she admitted she kissed him and they returned because I called. Upon further questioning, she said this is the second time this happened this summer. She said that she recently developed feelings for him but only kissed him on 2 nights. I believe there was nothing more, but maybe I am being naive. We talked all that night and have been talking and crying a lot since. I am completely devastated, don't sleep, no appetite, can't think straight, and the worst part is I have lots of flashbacks of seeing them together. I believe she is truly sorry and feels terrible. She said she tried to cut it off after the first time kissing but was somehow addicted to spending time with him and could not end it. He is a bachelor and alcoholic who has destroyed a few other marriages. He is the life of the party and I think she admired that. I believe he preys on married women as he wants the fun without the relationship. Apparently, I have not been giving her the attention she needs and she was intrigued by the bad boy in him. She had been talking to him at parties at our weekend home and enjoyed his companionship. I was around for most of it and didn't pick up on it. I went to bed early on the 2 nights the kissing occurred. I woke up looking for her on the second occasion. I confronted him the following morning and his story aligned with only kissing as well as other details. I do believe it was limited to that, but probably would have escalated in the near future. He offered to let me punch him in the face, but I didn't take him up on it. I don't think he developed the feelings she has and was only looking for a good time. Their stories line up and they didn't have time to corroborate. I ended it with do not contact her and if she contacts you, please let me know. We crafted a text later that night asking him to avoid all contact. I don't think he has any feelings for her, but I don't trust that he would not sleep with her given the opportunity. She said that after she kissed him the first time she started crying and asked him to take her home. The second time she said after she kissed him, she told him this can't happen again, then I called. She knew it was wrong but couldn't stop herself. Alcohol was involved on both occasions, particularly the first. We party every weekend at our weekend home during the summer. I love my wife and I thought we had a great life and a decent marriage. We have 2 kids, 7 and 10, we rarely fight, a beautiful home, weekend home, great vacations, nice cars, good jobs, money in the bank, healthy for the most part, and no real hardships. I have been stressed over the past couple months because of work, not sleeping well, working too much and as a result I am probably not giving her the attention she needs. 2 months ago, she told me she was no longer attracted to me and didn't know what to do about it. This is around the same time she started enjoying talking to him. She is attractive, works out a lot and in great shape, I'm just average. We started to give each other more attention after talking about our concerns and as a result things were slowly improving. She told her mom and 2 friends about it after the first kiss as she was trying to get help. I believe she was trying to end it, but somehow could not stop. She is a good person but had a complicated childhood. She claims to have daddy issues but I don't understand it completely. I believe she is remorseful after seeing the pain she has caused me. We have been talking a lot. She agreed to end all contact and full access to her phone and anything else I want. I love her and do not want my children to go through a divorce. Unfortunately, it cannot be undone. We are seeing a counselor tomorrow and we both want to see this work. What are the odds she can end what seems like an addiction with him? Is it likely to happen again down the road with someone else? Is it truly an addiction? Does anyone have stories of success and if so, what tips do you have? My comment, so here goes. She couldn't stop herself is bull crap. She is not some child who have no control of her actions. She also wasn't tricked. Any women with some character would see right through this guy. You keep babying her and I guarantee you she will do it again. Cheating is a willful action. Their lips didn't just magnetically stick together. Don't assume you have the truth. I would at least ask her to give you a polygraph, mostly because if she is lying it's better to know now than 5 years from now. Cheaters lie, that is what they do. She doesn't have the right to faith anymore. Plus, it gives her an idea of the gravity of the situation she is in. Oftentimes this brings out what is called a parking lot confession, which is when they are cornered, they tell the truth. Well, if it was me after reading hundreds of these stories, I would get divorce papers and have them on the table when she got home. Tell her you are strongly considering it. Tell her you are not sure if you can live with the uncertainty and you know you are a good husband and there is someone out there who wouldn't do this to you. Say you have loved her the best you could and after all that if she was willing to choose some alcoholic and some tent over, maybe you were just not meant to be. Difference is I would mean this part and you should think long and hard about that. This is who you are married to and who you are committing the rest of your life to. But I digress, ask her why you should trust that this won't happen again. Most of all, and I can't stress this enough, tell her you need a better spouse. Do this even if you don't mean it just to scare the life out of her. Maybe the fear of her life blowing up and losing you forever will blow away the silly fantasy she has. Also, she sleeps on the couch for the foreseeable future until she earns her way back into the bedroom. OP responds, I appreciate the tough messages, not good to hear, but necessary to keep me thinking clearly to make the best decision for my kids and me. I feel I need to have all information before making a decision. I took some of the constructive advice from this post. 1. I checked phone and text messages frequency on phone bill, and her story aligns. She told me that she texted him the day after the first incident one time and asked if she could call so she could end it. Then she called him and talked for 13 minutes. Those were the only calls, texts to him over past few months. 2. She agreed to a polygraph immediately after I asked. 3. I called her mom to see what she told her mom when she confided in her after the first event. She told her mom and me the same sequence of events. Drunk, kissed, cried, left. I believe she is sorry and remorseful. Tough to understand why she didn't think of me and her kids and get help. I need to make the polygraph happen soon. I'll get the ball rolling today. Polygraph scheduled for Friday at 12:30. Well worth the 400. A couple reoccurring questions. 1. The events happened at a resort-style campground we spend most weekends at. We both have places and he is in the same circle of friends. We did not invite him to go on a camping trip with us as it may have sounded. 2. The 13-minute call occurred 5 weeks ago, the day after the first event. So, I was not involved in this conversation as I was not aware this was going on. When I asked her if she made any calls or texts to him, she said, 1 text and 1 call the day after it happened. She said the purpose of the call was to tell him this can't happen again. 3. I told him to avoid all contact with both of us. Continuing friendship does not even cross my mind. A couple other points. 1. I don't blame myself, I blame her, and she has taken full responsibility. I mentioned I was not as involved as I should have been, but that does not justify her actions. 2. She has taken responsibility and is remorseful. She feels like a horrible person. She cannot understand why she put so much at risk for a loser. My comment: he means he got more than they bargained for with the polygraph. Perhaps a reversal in the agreement to take it, or perhaps a parking lot confession that has left OP reeling, or a polygraph extracted story that was more than he believed. He loves her, she did not pass the poly. He is sad. He is hurt. He is embarrassed to comment more. He knows we are going to tell him. We told you so. You did not listen. Now, what are you going to do? His world fell apart on D-Day. Now, it is going up in flames, it's over. Or it is being rug swept. I know he is in shock. Who would not be? OP came back a few weeks later. Man, I'm tired of being in this BS. I tried to be the most loving husband, but she keeps disappointing me over and over. I gave up trying to please her and started talking about divorce one night. She was angry, she thought I would keep taking her BS. But I just told her, I want to be happy, and I'm not seeing you. The divorce process was grueling, both emotionally and legally. As we waded through the paperwork, we began to understand the full scope of the dissolution of our marriage. We had to divide our assets, decide on custody arrangements for our children, and determine support payments. It felt like we were tearing apart the life we had built together, piece by piece. Throughout the entire ordeal, I couldn't help but question whether or not we were making the right decision. It felt like I was giving up on the love of my life and the mother of my children. But I also knew that we both deserved better, a relationship built on trust and respect, something that had been irreparably damaged by her infidelity. The divorce took months to finalize, and the emotional toll it took on both of us was immeasurable. Our children struggled to understand why their parents were separating, and we did our best to provide them with the love and support they needed during this difficult time. In the aftermath of the divorce, I struggled to find my footing as a newly single man. I mourned the loss of my marriage, the life we had built together, and the family that had been torn apart. It was a lonely and difficult time, but I knew that it was necessary in order for both my ex-wife and me to heal and move on from the betrayal. Gradually, I began to rebuild my life. I focused on my career, my health, and being the best father I could be to my children. I learned to forgive my ex-wife, and even though our relationship would never be the same, we found a way to co-parent our children amicably. I knew that holding on to resentment and anger would only hinder my ability to move forward and create a better life for myself and my children. My ex-wife, too, underwent a journey of self-discovery and growth. She attended therapy to address her unresolved issues from her past and her reasons for seeking solace in the arms of another man. She learned to take responsibility for her actions and began the process of healing herself, as well as working towards rebuilding a civil relationship with me. My comment: be thankful your divorce was not a complete mess. Please work on yourself and stand up for yourself. If you don't draw any boundaries, you have no chance in healthy relationships in the future. Story 2. Hi, I have been married for 14 years now and have an 11-year-old son. I walked out of his home 7 years back when I couldn't get along with his parents and he wasn't ready to live separately with me. He would come and see me and my son on weekends. But as my son was getting confused with this arrangement, I stopped him from seeing son on weekends too. This was in 2013. I hoped that he would miss us and move back to us and set up a home, but he didn't. He begged me to come and stay with his parents' home. One day I threatened him to give divorce and he came to me running to my home and stayed for 1.5 years. Unfortunately, his dad expired, so he left to his parents' home again to be with his mom. He started again to beg me to return home, but I never did as he was living on his mom's money and earned little and wasted all money he earned and never spent on me or my kid. but he still wanted me to stay and would daily beg me. I trusted that he loves me but unable to set up a home because he was incapable of earning money. I have not met him for the past year, though we talk on WhatsApp and update about son. But I won't let him meet my son because my son is getting confused with a weekend dad. Suddenly last month, I came to know that my husband was in a full-fledged affair for the past 5 years, even while he was begging me to come and live with him. Well, when have I confronted him through messages and calls? He denied it first and then bluffed that it was a dirty phone and then said it was just 1-year-old affair. But from what I read and pics I saw, it was a very long and deep affair, and he said they broke up months ago. I don't believe any of these stories, and as I don't stay with him anyway, I have no chance to spy on him remotely. I'm totally shocked that he cheated on me while begging me to come back to him. While I was waiting for him to change his mind and come back to me, he was busy doing all these. I asked for a divorce, but he flatly denied giving one and begged for forgiveness. But I don't know how we can try to reconcile when we both don't even live together. It's impossible for me to leave my old parents and go and stay with him in his house with him and his mom, that too after leaving his home for 7 years and after this affair. My parents and family are very angry with the affair and wanted to disclose this to his mom, but she is too old to bear this at this age. He is not even ready to completely come clean with the affair or attend counseling. I'm sure in counseling they would ask us to stay together, but we can't, as he can't leave his very old mom alone and stay with me, and I can't leave my own parents and live with him. He's still not ready to divorce me because people will frown upon him, as everyone thinks he is a perfect gentleman. He is not willing to give me a mutual consent divorce, which is easier in our country and I can get a divorce within 6 months. But he is not willing, as he fears his reputation, as divorced people are looked down upon here. Yes, he never thought the same about affairs that way. So, my only option is to file for a contested divorce, which would take 5 years to come through, and I have to really struggle and make my son suffer while going to courts. Moreover, I don't have enough proofs to show his adultery in court. I do have emails exchanges, but they are cleverly written using pseudonames, and even the pictures I could get hold of are not very clear. One of our common friends mailed me these and they also sent me some screenshots of the mail exchanges, only inbox view, where I could see the subject lines and timelines and conclude that they had a full-fledged affair. I was not sent the inside of the pictures, but from the subject line I saw that they saved all anniversary pics, their holiday pics, etc. So, it's very difficult to get a divorce unless he accepts for a mutual consent. He is to even completely confessing to the affair and is still lying. I did not even meet him, as he would emotionally convince me to give up taking divorce. He never made any plans of meeting me since the affair came out, as he is scared of my parents. It's been 3 weeks now and I'm suffering day and night, not knowing what to do. How to convince him of getting a mutual consent divorce. How can I know if he's still in touch with the O? He says they broke up, but I'm not sure. I can't spy on him sitting far away from him. He said the O doesn't stay in the same city, but Alter admitted that she stays. Later he said he doesn't have her number as she changed hers. He even tried to bluff that the affair was only a year long, while the mail exchanges clearly showed otherwise. In one of the emails, he described their physical act so wildly, I can't and not able to get over the mental images. Still, he doesn't want a divorce. He is not ready to discuss. He says he loves our son a lot and is mad at me not showing him to him. Yes, I did not, as I fear that my son would get confused with a weekend dad. We even went on a holiday 2 years ago as my son was crying for dad's company. I expected him to return to me and son after the trip, but he did not say he needs to take care of his mother. I have very old parents too, so I can't move to his house after 7 years of staying apart. I haven't met him since the holiday trip, though we stay 10 kilometers away from each other. I keep remembering how he used to beg me for all these years to come back, went on a holiday too, all this while having an affair. How can I even think of reconciling when I didn't even meet him since affair? He is now giving me a silent treatment. So, divorce is the only solution, but he is not ready to give it too. So, maybe I should finally choose to fight for a contested divorce. The fact is, my husband never fought for the visitation of his son. He could have got through court, but he only tried, hoped that one day I would return to him. The reason is, he is a very happy-go-lucky man, a professional yet lazy to earn enough and work hard and own a home. I had to threaten him with a divorce in 2014 when he came running to my parents' house and stayed with my son for 5 years. He would have stayed back, maybe, but his dad passed and he had to go and take care of his disabled mom. His parents are rich and so he was pampered and led a lavish life. But he never had affairs when I still stayed in his home. But I couldn't handle his carefree nature, sports addiction, and not being ambitious. So, one day I just walked out and never returned. He loves his son a lot, but what is the use of love when there is no responsibility? What would my son learn from him? That it is okay to tolerate an irresponsible man. Initially I did allow his weekend visits, but never allowed the kid to go to my in-laws' house. So, he never bonded with the other set of grandparents at all. Still, I couldn't make my husband to change his attitude and crap to a house of his own. Then I gave up. I still went with him on a holiday since my son wanted it, cried for his dad's company. But he did not spend a penny on the trip and I sponsored the whole trip. He just came along to play with my son. It did not bother me much as I was earning enough and my son was happy. Sadly, even after coming back from the trip, his attitude did not change and he only kept begging me to return home. There is no way I'm going back to his house. He has to come and live with me, to which also he agreed. He shamelessly wished me on every anniversary, every birthday, made plans for dinners and all, but I never went. In spite of all this, he never changed his mind or wanted me or my son so badly that he left everything and came to live with us. So, while does love his son, he never put in efforts except for that 2 years in 2014. Even during that period, this man lived with my parents but made no plans of taking a new home. He is that irresponsible. He bought expensive gifts to my son, and my son is crazy about his dad. He cried almost daily for him and asked me why can't his dad stay with him like all his friends' dads. I trusted that this man would be loyal to me, but he enjoyed his life with another married woman for so many years and now not even confessing completely so that I can ask for mutual consent divorce. He is avoiding discussions. I want to appoint a detective and find out if he is really in contact with the O still so that I can catch him red-handed and gather more evidence for the divorce. Please note that I did ask him for a divorce years ago and even in between, but he was dead against it. Social pressure, and so as I still cared for him. I let me stay in marriage. He can flaunt his ring and my DP and his FB but interact with him only when I need something and vice versa. I was okay with this arrangement too, but cheating on me? No way I'm going to tolerate this. My evidences are only 2 mail exchanges written to each other with a pseudo name. They smartly created an account where they exchanged mails only through that account. No names mentioned. Also, these mails were sent to me by common friend, unknown ID, and they seem to have got hold of their common account and instead of forwarding me, they copy-pasted mails to my mail. So, my clever husband never claims that common friend must have edited the mail content. But I'm 200% sure, from the style of the writing, it's my husband who wrote the mail. It was so disgusting to read it. And just know the first name of the O. In spite of threatening him, my husband refused to tell the full name and gave me a wrong number and said she must have changed the no. Surprisingly, he refuses to even admit to the 5-year-old relationship. That's shocking. Luckily, I have a picture of him and her kissing. They went to Milan in June, but my so-called well-wisher, common friend, blurred her face, which makes me wonder if she herself has sent these mails. I'm not sure if a picture of my hubby, face clear, kissing another woman, face blurred, is enough proof, but I do have it. I even told him that a private investigator would be behind him all the time and observe where and with whom he is going. I did that to stop him first still going out with her. I am now sure that they both would not meet in person, but maybe I also ruined my chances of getting them caught red-handed. During my initial outbursts, I even said that I would divorce him, talk to that woman and get them both married. And he cried and said that he loved only me. Wow, simply amazing. He should fight if he cared for his son. He could have gone to the court and got custody of his son without giving me a divorce. But he knew that, once he did something like that, I would never come back to his home and he did not want to take that risk. Moreover, he did not want to spend money, effort on going to courts and wasting time to get the custody of his son. He should have accepted for a mutual consent divorce, but he is scared of the word divorce as he maintains a great name among his friends and extended family. Just loving the son, playing with him is not enough. And he should also know that the son comes with wife and responsibility. If you can't manage the divorce. He didn't let me. I accept I have been weak. My parents were worried of their own reputation. An irresponsible dad is a liability and my son will learn to be like him. I would be left with an irresponsible son too. If I were a man and if my wife stopped me from interacting with my son, I would have bent backwards to get him back in my life. If my wife didn't let me see him at her place, I would have gone to his school, met him at the bus stop, done something to gain my wife's confidence. Because my son loves me. Sad, my husband did love my son but at his own convenience. He is so spoiled and pampered by his parents. He does things not moving out from his comfort zone. What good parent could have he become? I don't regret him not able to meet his son. Sadly, I was carried away by his charm, his looks, his sense of humor when I married him. My biggest mistake of life. I started to wonder, had I really fallen into his trap and went to stay with him, how would he have had managed the affair? Would he have texted the O saying it's over because my wife came back after 7 years of begging? From the mails they exchanged I got that the O has been a fool, weak woman who actually trusted my husband way too much. I don't care for her, but I can't even imagine my husband dumping her once I came back. So, whom does he actually love? Whom did he actually cheat on? Such a worthless piece. If I were such a bad wife, he should have agreed to give me divorce. It's wrong to stay in marriage and cheat on your wife. There is no excuse for it. If he was so tempted to sleep together outside marriage, he should have divorced me first irrespective of how bad a wife I am. He did not and did not let me do it, and parents too emotionally blackmailed me not to go in for a divorce. He does earn but not much. He is a qualified physiotherapist but has no interest in developing new skills or growing in his profession. The house is run by his mom's money. He doesn't contribute to it. With his earnings, he spends lavishly on his clothes, spas, sports stuff, extremely expensive and unnecessary gadgets. In fact, he owns some 600 shirts and highly expensive gadgets and whatnot. He spends all his money on these stuff. He would have contributed to my son's school fee and other things, but by the time my son came to class 1, I moved out of the house. I never wanted to take his money as I was earning well. I did not want him to accompany me to PTA, or did I ever tell him about my health issues. I only wanted him to be a responsible husband, come out of mom's house and live independently. But he wants to stay in my parents' home, and I was almost ready to take him back till last month when the affair came out. He said last month that he would change himself completely and work on this marriage. But his lifestyle didn't change at all. He has zero savings and has only a car and his clinic to call his own. He sits there the whole day and hardly any patients come, and he keeps spending time wasting away with his useless friend, watching porn and this woman. Our mutual friends are asking me to reconcile with him, forgive him and start everything afresh. Do you all really think that we both can reconcile and I should now start letting him visit our son? How do I reconcile with him? He is not even ready to discuss and being honest about the affair details. How can I trust him and move back to his house? Will that work now after years of separation and after his affair? He will be ready to take me back anytime, but I am not ready to get hurt again. If not divorce, what is the other option? I just came to know from my mutual friends that his mom was sick mentally and was behaving in a weird manner for past 1 year. I lost my job a year back, and since then he has been continuously begging me to go back to him. So, my mutual friends have this to say. The fact that he was begging me to be back with him while he was still having an affair is making me think if he really loved me and be back with him. If I had gone back to him, that would have put an end to all his dramas, so I guess he was not happy with the affair in the first place and not happy with the O2. Or why would he beg me to come back home? I would ask for all phone access, mail access, cut off his drinking and partying ways, as now I have no job too. Maybe he did not know how to get rid of her or come out of the affair. She was extremely involved in the affair while he could be possibly having a fling for 6 years and got bored of her. He was planning for a trip abroad as well with me and my son just 2 months ago. I kept saying no to his invitations to anniversaries, dinners, but still, he never stops begging me. Never once did he mention divorce, though I completely cut off access to him to our son. Which dad wants that? What do all these mean? Was he in love with me as he claims? Our mutual friends mentioned all these points and asking me to reconsider divorce, but I'm really not sure what is true and what is untrue. He would say yes to all of the above points today, but the fact that he and the O went abroad for a holiday and that she really cared for him when I wasn't there, I read her mails, is contradicting my thoughts. How could he want me over her? She sounds to be pretty and extremely caring from his own words in his mail, when I never really cared or respected him. How can I give access to my son to a dad who is irresponsible? He never was willing to contribute to the family expenses. He never stopped his lavish lifestyle and tried to live within the means. While I was slogging away at work and raising my son as a single mom, he was enjoying himself in the affairs. If he was a real man, he would have bought a home next to his parents, brought me and my son there. But he never tried. For years, he promised me that he would someday do that, but he never did. So, I did provide access to my son on weekends for a few years, but my son would get confused to see no dad the next Monday. And what was he teaching my son? What example was he setting? Moreover, I waited for him to make up his mind and do something in these 7 years. I went to all parties and met his useless friends too, his relatives, to please him. I was there when his dad passed, and I helped his mom in many ways during that period. Only from the last 2 years, after our last holiday with my son, I cut off complete access to my kid. I did that for a year in 2013 too, and so he came back running to me in 2014. So, I thought this time too he would come back. He promised he would, and it was him who kept bombarding me with messages to restart everything. All this while sleeping with that B. I really want to know whom he wanted. I so want that O to be the bad woman here, but unfortunately, from the mails I read, she was a nice person and truly loved him. So, he was a man who couldn't be true to his wife, couldn't be true to his O at least. He is the worst man, so how can he become a great dad? Regarding the physical part, when a woman comes to know that she married a weak man who can't support her and is forced to raise a son all alone and staying with her parents while the society is making fun of her because she walked out of her matrimonial home. Yes, we live in such a society, then bonding would be the last thing on her mind. My mind would always be full of plans to run the home, manage my growing up boy, taking care of my highly stressful corporate job, taking care of my aging parents. I lived like a man for the past 7 years. I could have divorced, but I waited for him to change. Even now, after all this, I'm not rushing into divorce because I still care for his reputation and my parents' reputation in our society. It's not easy for us to divorce. People ask questions, they make their own answers and laugh behind my back. It's so difficult to manage so many. It's impossible to live normally in such a place. If this man is still my husband, on paper, I wouldn't lose anything. Anyway, I didn't gain anything. I'm not interested in getting married again or having a boyfriend again. My only aim now is to take care of my son and parents. Is there any way I can stop this man continuing the affair? When should I be hiring a PI, and for how long? Just a few moments ago, my husband is hopelessly crying and calling me to give him a chance. He says he loves me like crazy and he always wanted only me. He is begging me not to divorce him and he loves me and his son. He is ready to leave him home and come back to me today. He says that O sent all the mails to me to expose him as he wanted to end the affair. He says we both should start fresh and he will stay in my house. I'm very confused because my parents are still mad at him, and will he really leave his mom alone and come back and live with me and my parents? Wow, the affair came out and had such a big impact on him. So much change in a month. Or he is simply acting. I'm not sure if I will be able to forget all this anytime soon, but I can keep him under control if he stays with me. But is it worth it? We both lived together for 6 years after marriage and he had an affair equally long. But he could forget his affair partner, though she was extraordinarily caring and loving and respectful towards him, while I had little respect for him. It's also confusing. How long does it take for a couple to start reconciliation process after the affair is out? In our case, since we stay apart, just 10 kilometers away, we did not meet or talk face to face yet, so is my husband really willing to reconcile? If we do reconcile, can we stay apart and still make this work? He says he would move back to my home immediately, but I'm scared to take that risk. He just keeps saying he did not cheat on me for 6 years and he still wants only me and all. It's been a month since the affair came out. He says the affair lasted for only 1 year, but the screenshots, mail exchanges, timelines of their anniversaries, I have got say that it was for 6 years. He says he got carried away because of my absence and his empty life, and that the O pulled him into this and would never leave. So, after 6 years, when he tried to break off, she exposed him to me by sending mails. But what I read in the mail exchanges was so different. They both were in deep love. He said 100 times how much he cared for her and how much he loves everything she does. He says, why would he beg me to come back if he was still in the affair? I came to know later that his mom was turned mentally ill, and doctors said that it was because of loneliness. Only he and his mom lived in a huge home, and neighbors were asking him why he can't bring his wife back home. So now I doubt if he wanted me to be back to his house so that his mom is not alone. Also, it could be for my son as well. He says he did not sleep with the O. I know, it's so funny. I have the dirtiest descriptions of their physical act by him. But again, he denies, saying that the mail was edited before it was sent. But I know his style of writing, so I know it was physical too. He said he did not go abroad on a holiday with her. Later said she was just a friend. But when I showed him the kiss picture, he said nothing and said it was just a kiss. Anything I ask, he says it's all over now. It's all finished with her and he loved and loves only me. That is why he kept begging me to return to his place. For the last statement, I too have no logical reason to doubt. Why would he call me home if he still wanted to continue the affair? It's impossible to continue, as I would have surely caught him. So, either the affair was really over or he was extremely unhappy suddenly after the affair. Suddenly, because they went to Milan just 30 days before the affair came out. He is not ready to give me divorce in any case, and will it very difficult for me if I initiate it. I can still expose his affair to all his friends and relatives, but I don't want to do that because I too have my share of irresponsibility in this whole episode. He also says the O lived in a different city. But the mails I read, she described every place they went to and the awesome memories, all in our same city. He also said that it was just dirty phone calls, whatever crap it is called. But in the mails, he described how she never let him touch her body parts in the movie theater, how she hated public display of affection. So, initially he was all bluffing. Only when I showed proofs or lied that his friends told me the actual truth, did he confess that too very little. He just keeps saying he changed and he won't divorce and will do whatever needs to be done to save the marriage. He also says that he is no longer in touch with the O and does not have her phone number, and that she changed her number. But I am not at all sure if he still doesn't contact her at all. He fears that I engaged a PI, so he must have reduced the contact with her, but it's just impossible that he let her go totally. 6 years of extreme affection and sharing between the two. They would talk 20 times a day, meet up every alternate day, go for spas, movies, parks, museums, matches, hospitals too. Oh my God. In fact, he got admitted in the hospital for a day last year, and it was she who took complete care of him by going there at 6 a.m. and staying till 11 p.m. without eating and leaving her kid all alone at home. Can a man ever leave such a woman so fast and move on? I doubt it. I didn't live with him or meet him frequently. I helped him when he needed me, like when he wanted money, when he wanted some bank information, help with his health issues and other issues related to work. I also paid bills for him sitting at my parents' place sometimes. I sponsored an expensive holiday just 2 years back with him as my son was crying for his dad. When this man went on a boys' holiday and his mom was alone, I went to help her for 3 days for 3 hours daily. I attended all his cousins' weddings, went with him to all his friends' parties. I am on very good terms with all his relatives still, and they all like me a lot, though they never interfere why I left him, because they surely know that what I asked for is nothing but responsibility from him. I even let him stay in my parents' house without making him take any responsibility for 2 years. He was treated respectfully there, never contributed to any expenses, still my parents let him stay there. All for my son. I was in regular touch with him through WhatsApp, though we never met in person, went together anywhere. We always went to picnics with my parents, my sister's kids every weekend. So, he should be bending backwards to make me happy and get back to me. No separated wife does all these. My comment: it's time to shift the attention to yourself. It does not matter what the other partner does moving forward. You need to focus on yourself in order to move forward in life.